What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fins. I am your host, Aaron, and if it's your first time seeing one of my videos, I'd like to welcome you to my channel where I do reviews on albums, singles, EPs. We could basically just sit down, chill, relax, talk about music, and all the things that we love or hate. And on today's music review, we're going to be checking out the new single, Pray, by the band's I, The Breather. I, The Breather is a metalcore band from Maryland. They started about 2009 and came out with 3 studio albums all the way up to 2014. And in 2015, they announced that they were going to be disbanding. And then out of nowhere, 5 years later in 2020, they came back just a few days ago and released a single. I, The Breather was birthed from the Christian metalcore movements throughout the early 2000s all the way into, I believe it was like the early 2010s, somewhere around in there. And even though they weren't as big and popular as like Killswitch Engage or As I Lay Dying and all the more mainstream bands, these guys were pretty freaking good. And they're actually like one of my favorite bands out of the Christian metalcore bands from that time. I even have one of their CDs in my car, which I still listen to pretty frequently. So even though they've stepped away from the Christian background and they're into more of a secular scene now, I'm still pretty excited to finally see these guys back together making music again. Just because when they broke up, I was looking for them and just different bands. Hopefully, maybe a guitar player would pop up in a different band, and there was nothing. And it was just so, it just made me sad. And now I'm happy to see that they're back. And they definitely sound a lot more refined, but they still have some of that charm to them from their scale choices, note choices, rhythm patterns, everything. It all has some familiarity to it, and it's definitely not a bad thing. Especially the guitar and the intro and just all the little melodic parts throughout the entire song. Even the drums and some of the drum passages have a very nostalgia feel to it. But I will admit that the tone is completely different. It's so much more modern sounding. When I listened to that album in my car, I believe it's called Truth and Purpose. It's from like 2011 or 12 or something like that. It sounds like it's 10 years old. Just the production, the way it sounds. I mean, it sounds good, but when you put it on, it just sounds dated. And this definitely sounds, like I said, more refined. It's a lot smoother. The production on it and the editing and just the mix, everything just sounds so much cleaner. Even the melodic stuff in the background, it's hidden behind just brutal drums, very distorted rhythm guitar. You can still hear it crystal clear. And the chorus is huge and full of tons of emotion. And I think the whispered vocals and the pre-chorus add to the chorus's explosiveness and make it more epic. And there's just a lot of hills and valleys and different breaks in this song that make it explosive all around. I mean, these guys came out guns blazing with this new single. And the chorus is rather short, but the catchiness in it makes you wish it went on longer, which is also not a bad thing. The guitar tone and the breakdown is just straight up nasty, and there's a lot of different screeching parts that make it more dynamic instead of just being a straight up chug fest. And my favorite parts in this song are the little like mini interlude parts where there's no vocals. It's just straight up music, and you can hear the instrumentation and you can hear the technicality of it, and you could just really get absorbed in the riffs and the drum patterns and the rhythm. Is just so good. Lyrically, the song is kind of generic. It's about somebody who's going to get what they deserve and they're going to do horrible, violent things to them. And if I'm going to be completely honest, the entire song, it is fairly generic, but at the same time, I, The Breather, managed to maintain their core sound. Even after all these years, they still have a very original sound to them. And it's what I love. It's what made me fall in love with them. It's just their sound that they have. And not only that, but Pray just might be their heaviest song. It's been a long time since I've gone through their discography. It's not their best song, but it's a strong, very strong contender for being the heaviest stuff they've put out so far. So with all that said, I gotta give Pray by I, The Breather a 3.9 out of 5. Some people are going to strongly dislike this song, and I understand why. Pray is taking the band in a completely different direction than what their last album from 2014 was taking them in. Sure, it was a little bit more refined than some of their older stuff. But their 2014 album, it had a lot more clean singing, had slower parts to it. It was a little bit more adulty, I guess you could say. They were growing up. But now they come out with this thing that's just a heavy, hard hitter, and it just thrashes around everywhere. It's giant breakdowns and tons of screeching guitar. And it's very obvious, too, that these guys are no longer Christian, which might be a major turnoff to people who are Christian, who grew up listening to these guys and loving their music and hearing the lyrics in their old songs compared to the lyrics now, which are a lot more explicit and, like I said, violent, and there's more cursing and stuff in it. But you got to remember, it's been 5 years since these guys have been a band. They just came back. They're technically practically a new band. I mean, sure, they have all the same members except for one, I believe it was. I think they have a new guitar player specific to this song. Everybody else is, I think they've been around since 2014. So yeah, they're a new band. So you got to take that into consideration as well. They're not going in a different direction. They've basically started over completely. And as far as Christianity is concerned, I don't really care all that much what they believe in or what kind. I really don't care. Sure, I fell in love with them when they were a Christian band. I still listen to it. But that doesn't change my thinking on this song or any of their future stuff coming out. They kind of pulled a Under Oath, where Under Oath was a Christian band and they slowly weren't, and they came out with their new album. Just the only difference between I the Breather and Under Oath is I the Breather isn't producing trash music and talking crap on everybody who dislikes it. But I want to know what you guys think. If you've listened to Pray, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought. If you haven't, I'm going to leave a link for it down in the description below. It's like a 3-minute long song. Go ahead, give it a listen, and let me know what you would rate it. If you enjoyed this review, feel free to give it a like. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free to give it a dislike. And even though I don't really care, also let me know why you disliked it. Maybe it was something I did, a different approach I could take to giving my reviews. Maybe you just don't like this song. I'm giving you guys my opinion, so I'd like to hear yours. And I'm also doing a Request Wednesdays now, where every Wednesday I take one of the requests off the whiteboard and I do a review on it. So if you got anything you want me to review, new or old, single, EP, album, whatever, leave a comment below letting me know what it is. We'll throw it on the whiteboard and we'll make it happen for you. And if you do that, and you just happen to like what you see here and you enjoy my reviews and you want to see more, please feel free to subscribe and click the little bell icon. It helps me out tremendously. And that way you also don't miss out on any of my future reviews, especially if you leave a request and then you end up missing it because you just don't get notified and you never come back. And that makes me sad. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a good rest of your day or night whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was ignorant, kid relying on my parents' said to save me. He was gone.